Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of the Hopjack Summer Sew Along. Today's going to be super fun. We're going to be completing round 4, our bow ties and the cornerstones. So let's go over some of the fabrics that you're going to be needing for today's episode. You need from your setting fabric, we had already cut our 32 1.5 by 3 inch rectangles. You need 6 7/8 squares. And then when we were cutting our setting fabric, we didn't complete cutting our template C's. We did cut our strips out. So we have our 3-inch strips that we need to cut template C out of. You're gonna need 32 of template C cut. And I already have my template cut out here. You can cut your templates out whichever way that you prefer. Just make sure that your long edge of template C is 6.5 inches long and you have it at 3 inches wide. That's for template A and B as well. They need to be 3.5 inches high and 3 inches wide. So I have my template cut out, and then we also are going to be cutting into our dark yardage, your yardage that came with your kit. And then from our layer cake here, let's see, I'm just going to move this out of the way. From your layer cake, you are going to be needing the remainder of layers number 4. So we have 4 layers here for number 4. We have our number 5 layers. We have 6 and 7 and layer number 8. So that's all the fabrics you're going to be needing for today. We're going to start off. We're going to go ahead and get our template C's cut. So I'm going to clear everything off and we're going to get those 32 pieces cut. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we have cut out all 32 of our template C pieces that we needed. We're going to go ahead and set these aside for now. Next, we're going to be making our 8 half square triangles out of our layer 4 layers. So let's go ahead and bring those back. We're also going to be needing our 4 of our 6 7/8 setting fabric squares. So let's go ahead and get 4 of these. And then we're going to bring back our 4 layer number 4 layers. So let me get those. Okay, so from each of our layer pieces, we're going to be cutting a 6 7/8 inch square. So let me go ahead and get all of our squares cut. And then we're going to be drawing our diagonal line and making our half square triangles. Okay, so we have our 8 half square triangles completed, and we're going to set these aside. Let's go ahead and bring over our 4 layers for number 5. We're going to start cutting our templates A and B. So let me go ahead and... Okay, so following our pattern, we need to cut 4 of template A and 4 of template B from each of our layers. Now, since I was able to choose 2 of the same fabrics for my layer number 5s, I'm going to be cutting all my template B's out of these fabrics and all my template A's out of these fabrics. That way I can feature both of these fabrics in each of my bow tie blocks. So I'm going to start cutting my templates out. I'm going to start off by cutting 3-inch strips and then placing my template piece on top of my fabric and cutting my template piece out. So let me go ahead and get all of my pieces cut out. So I'm going to cut 8 out of each layer. Okay, so we have all of our template A and B pieces cut from our layer fabric. We're going to bring back our yardage and we're going to cut our templates A and B from our yardage. So let me go ahead and bring that back over. We're going to set these aside for now. Okay. So from our dark yardage, we need to cut 16 of template A and 16 of template B. I'm going to square up one edge to the fold and cut my 3-inch strip and begin cutting my template pieces. Okay, so now that we have all of our template A and template B cut out of our dark yardage, it's now time to bring over layer number 8. Okay, so here is my layer number 8, and out of layer number 8 we need to cut 16 1.5 inch squares. So let's go ahead and get those cut. Okay, so now that we have all 16 of our 1.5 inch squares cut from layer number 8, we have finished cutting all of our pieces that we need to begin stitching together our bow ties. So the first thing that we're going to stitch together is we're going to be stitching our templates A and B to our template C. So just a tip, I have all of my setting fabrics face up, stacked on top of each other, so as I'm stitching, they're ready for me to grab and pair up with their templates A and B. We're gonna take on one side our template B, and on the other we're gonna be taking our template A. So I'm gonna take these over to my sewing machine and get these stitched together. Okay, so we're here at our sewing machine and we're ready to start stitching. And just a tip for when you're matching up your template pieces, when you line it up with your template C, be sure to have your short edge on this side. You don't want to sew it on with the long edge here at the bottom. So be sure I have everything laid out, so all I have to do is just grab and start stitching. So for this piece, it's going to go right here. We're going to do our face down and stitch along our long edge. Okay, we've finished stitching together all of our bow tie side pieces. And while we're here at our sewing machine, let's go ahead and stitch together the middle portion of our bow tie. So I have brought over our 1.5 inch squares and our 3 inch rectangles. Now we're gonna stitch a rectangle to either side of our square to create our bow tie middle pieces. So let's go ahead and get these stitched together, and then we'll bring everything back over to our table and get it all pressed open. Okay, so now that we have everything pressed open, we're going to take these over to our sewing machine and we're going to be stitching one of each of our bow tie side pieces to a middle piece to create our adorable bow tie blocks. So let's go ahead and bring this all over to our sewing machine and get everything stitched together. All right, our bow tie blocks are pressed and completed. And now it's time to move on to our cornerstones. So we're gonna bring in our layers number 6 and 7, as well as our 6 and 7/8 squares from our setting fabric. And we're gonna be making our 4 half square triangles. Let's go ahead and square these up, mark them and get them stitched and pressed open. And then we'll be coming back to assemble our bow ties with our cornerstones, as well as the previous half square triangles that we made from our layer number 4s. Let's go ahead and get these done, and then we'll be back here to put everything together. We have our cornerstone half square triangles complete. Now it's time to get everything stitched together. So let's look at our pattern. We're going to be following our diagram, and let's bring back our round 4 half square triangles, and we're going to need our bow ties. So now we're going to lay everything out following our diagram and our pattern. So let's go ahead and make some room here. All right, so for our round 4 half square triangles, let me go ahead and we have these two, so for mine, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna be placing these together, and then on the opposite end, let's go ahead and put these. Side pieces. Okay, so I have my round 4 half square triangles laid out how I want them. So we're going to be stitching these together. And then once you have these together, we're also going to be stitching our bow ties together. These are going to go together. They're going to be stitched just like this. So we're going to stitch these pairings together. So I'm going to pair up a few of our bow ties into couples, so I know to sew these together. And then we're going to be sewing these together. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to go ahead and get these pieces stitched together as well as my bow tie pairings, and then I'm going to stitch my cornerstones at the very end. So we have our top pieces and our side pieces to sew onto our quilt top from last week. So let me go ahead and get these stitched together and I'll be right back. All right, we have our round 4 half square triangle pairing stitched together, as well as our bow tie block pairing stitched together. Now it's time to stitch our side and top pieces that we're going to be stitching to our quilt top. So following our pattern diagram, we're going to be stitching our cornerstone half square triangles to our top and bottom strips. So let me go ahead and choose. I want these pairings on the top and bottom, and then I'm going to need a pairing of bow ties on each side. And then for our cornerstones, I want these on the top, and then I have my bottom, and then my top and my bottom. So I'm going to stitch together all of these pieces to create my top and bottom strips. And then for my side strips, we're going to have our side round 4 pieces with our bow tie pairings on each side. So once we have all those completed, we're going to be stitching just like before. We're going to be stitching our side pieces on first and then our top pieces. So I'm going to go get all of these stitched together and stitch onto our quilt top, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have the side and top and bottom pieces stitched on. We are done for today's episode. Everything is really starting to come together. Next week, we are going to be doing our feather blocks. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.